What's going on, everybody? This is Justin Smith of Palmetto Coast Exotics, and this is the ChondroCast, the podcast about green tree pythons and the people that keep them. Enjoy the show. Going on, everybody? This is episode 10 of the ChondroCast. I'm Justin Smith of Palmetto Coast Exotics, and tonight I am joined by Sabrina Vega of Lottery Reptiles. What's going on?
Nothing.
Whole lot of nothing?
Yeah, I'm just hanging out.
You're
enjoying the summer finally.
Yeah. You're part of the Texas gang, right?
Yes, I am.
Oh, cool.
There's a lot of us.
Yeah, I know, it's weird. It's so strange that there's like Maryland, Colorado, and Texas. That's where a lot of the chondro guys are, and it's strange. All right, so obviously we're here to talk about some green trees, and
yes.
So you've got a handful of them right now, right?
Yeah, I think I have like 8 now.
Oh wow, cool. What originally got you into the green trees?
So I've always been a reptile person, and then I got my first, of course, ball python about maybe 11, 12 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I had him for a long time, but we didn't have space for a whole snake room. So once I got it, my wife really liked green trees. She was like obsessed with green trees. So I think I hit up Bill one day, and I was like, "Oh, you have beautiful snakes," and he was like, "Oh, I see you're in Texas. Why don't you come by?" And I was like, "Okay." So we went by and we saw his snakes, and like I think pictures make them look larger than what they are.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Whoa, this is a manageable snake." You know what I mean? No. And they're beautiful, and he always shows that they're handleable and all of that stuff. Like you're not gonna get eaten every time you go into the cage, kind of thing.
Right.
So we went there and we fell in love with them, and there you go. We just started buying.
And what was the first ones you got?
I got an Aru pair, an import pair. I really bought it for the boy, but the girl came with it,
right?
Which eventually ended up being a boy also.
Oh.
So I sold that one.
Yeah. Go figure.
Yeah, but my Aru boy definitely started it with his blues and everything. I was like, holy moly, these things are stunning. So, and it's definitely addiction.
Oh,
you
definitely.
Just want to keep getting more.
Yeah, and it's it's funny. I tell Jake that all the time. I'm like, they're really not that exciting of a snake to keep.
No.
Like compared to like most colubrids and stuff, they're actually kind of boring. But I think the fact that obviously they're so gorgeous and they're always out, like you don't have to worry about them hiding. They're them always being there. There's something about them that just you can never have just one. It doesn't work out that way.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh, cool. And so, obviously, Bill was a big influence. Then I'm assuming.
Yes. Yeah, he was. He still, to this day, when talks me off the ledge with the neos and everything like that.
I think all of us first-time breeders there's always that one guy where we're like, dude, I don't know, like, these things aren't looking right. And they're like, chill out, it's fine. And you're like, no, man, these things aren't right. And they're like, they're fine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I went through that a lot with, like, during incubation. I was freaking out. I would say Patrick is my go-to, though. Like, I talk to him pretty much, like, throughout the incubation every day. And it was bad. Like, I was like, oh, my God, I think they're dry. Oh, my God, what do I do now? And they were like, leave them alone.
Yeah.
Stop looking at them. So this clutch, obviously it's my second clutch, and we hardly look at them. Like, we have a water chamber in the incubator, so we fill that up, and that's really it.
And
And
have
they're
you
beautiful.
have any issues with that when you've done that?
What, the water chamber?
Yeah.
I haven't.
Okay. I did it with
I
mine, and
personally
I think mine. I sent pictures to Justin Wilbanks, and he was like, I don't know, man, they look kind of dry. And so then I sent pictures to Harlan. He was like, nah, they look fine. And I was like, I don't know. And then I think after having mine hatch and, having the handful of babies I have from that clutch being kind of on the smaller side, I'm thinking they probably weren't getting enough humidity, which I thought was strange because it's like you're sitting literally on top of water, and then I had a dish next to them of the water gel that I threw in maybe halfway through, and I don't know. I'm gonna try vermiculite next time, I think, just to see if there's a major difference, because I've had friends who they switched them on to vermiculite from being over water like that, and they said the difference as far as like the eggs plumping back up was pretty dramatic. So I'm gonna give that a shot.
I mean, my first clutch, I lost more than half. I lost 6, and I kind of pinned it to. I had 2 fans running.
Yep.
And I kind of pinned it to that because, like you said, I didn't do overwater, but I did over perlite just to avoid the slooshing around. But it was pretty much water. It's like oversaturated perlite. I did that, and then the water chamber in the bottom with an air stone in it. And I mean, entire time I had 99% humidity. I'm like, wait, how is this possible? How are they drying? Like I think it was like the first 2 days, it was like so severely dented. And I forgot who said it. One of the old timers on MVF. They said, like they leave it open. They let the eggs acclimate to the condition of the incubator, and then they put the humidity. I did that even the first time, but like the first couple days, they started denting, and I was like, I don't think this is normal. And like I said, I was freaking out, but Bill was like, I've seen so much worse, hatch.
Yeah, and that's what I was basically told was like, if you've seen maternally incubated eggs, they look horrible. I was like, okay. And that's the frustrating part with it all is like you haven't seen this before, so you have no idea. You don't have anything to compare it to.
Correct.
And so it's just like, oh my god, like I'm just going off the a single picture or 2 pictures that I send to somebody where they're like, yeah, they look fine, or no, they look dry, and it's like I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I did some tweaks because I incubated at 87 because I had a V200. And I didn't want to go up to 88, so I just did 87. And I switched to a Herbstat so I could go 87.5 this time.
Yep.
I'm not sure if that changed anything, you know what I mean? But I did that. I changed the directions of the fans. So I actually eliminated one and only have one fan instead of 2. And I had the probe in the egg box.
For the thermostat?
A few people do it with,
Okay.
A few people do it with the probe outside. So I changed all that stuff, and I would say my eggs look beautiful. Like, I think I'm like halfway through right now, and they're like maybe like better than what my first batch looked on 2 weeks. So I think those little tweaks definitely did something.
Yeah, I had mine outside of the box. I had an indoor-outdoor thermometer that has one of the probes in the box, so I was paying attention to the temperatures in there. But early on, like within like the first week, my thing is like that thermometer would match what the thermostat said, but then when I would temp gun the eggs, they were coming up like 90. So I'm like, well, what the hell? Yeah, so I like swapped out the battery in my temp gun, checked it again, same thing, and so I'm like, what the hell? So then I went and got an analog mercury thermometer. And put that in there, and that also agreed with the thermostat and the other the digital indoor-outdoor. And so at that point, I was like, okay, whatever. I guess it's just my gun, and I left it be. But I don't know. There's a good bit of stuff I'll be changing next time around. That's for sure.
Yeah, I agree. That you have to learn and see if your tweaks change something. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it could also be the girl that I think like I conditioned my second girl a lot more, because I was waiting for the perfect male for her. Like I was waiting to get my Manokwari,
Yeah.
and I was waiting to take him out of quarantine and all of that stuff. So I bulked her up. So she was 850 before even putting him in. So by the time she got pregnant, she was probably like 9.
Yeah.
So I would say it was probably her condition also that maybe made better eggs. Like I was talking to Harlan, and he was saying that a lot of the times weak neos come from weak moms, which then create weak eggs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it definitely trickles down.
Yeah. Yeah. So definitely hope for the best this round.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if
How's
it's any,
your babies?
they're doing good. I ended up with 10 surviving. It was a clutch of 17. I lost probably, I'm trying to make sure my math is right. It was probably, I want to say 5 were dead in egg. Full term.
Like full term?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are bad.
So I think a few of those drowned, actually. I don't think they just didn't hatch or they had an issue. I think they just didn't make it out. And then I had one that came out and died, 2 that came out and died, and then I had one that hung on for probably 2 weeks, and it was really lethargic and kind of off to begin with. So when I woke up and found it dead, I figured it wasn't going to make it. It wasn't much of a surprise. But I've got 10. I'm not complaining. They all seem to be doing fine.
Yeah. That's like kind of what happened to me, but this is another reason I blame it on the fan, but it might not be the fan. I had one that went bad like maybe 2 weeks before hatch, and then the other ones, I think it was 3 were dead in the egg, full term, but their yolk was hard.
Oh.
Yeah, so that could have easily been the culprit for that. And then 2 pretty much did what you said. They were, one of them came flying out, and he still had his yolk attached, and I think he must have like pulled on his umbilical cord or something. But he went crazy for like maybe 5 minutes and then just died. And then we had another one.
I had one that came out with the umbilical cord like wrapped around its last third or so.
Oh, really?
Which I know in MVF there was a post about that a while back of someone kept having babies in a clutch come out like that, and
yeah, they were blaming it on candling.
Yeah, which I really didn't do with this clutch hardly at all. I did it the first like maybe week or so just to make sure there was actually something going on, but other than that, I didn't mess with them. They looked fine.
So I actually tested with 1 egg. So like there was, like I said, they were really dry and I was freaking out, and yes, everybody was telling me no, don't worry about it, but there was this 1 egg that really bothered me. It was too early on, and I was like, you know what, I can't just leave it and not do anything to it. So I put it straight on perlite, like damp perlite, and it plumped up beautiful. I had it in a different tub, plumped up beautiful, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna leave it here. This one's gonna be the one that, you know, we'll see if this is the route that you have to go. So I did that, and I candled him maybe 2-3 weeks in, and you saw a little worm moving in there. He's my strongest neo.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's my strongest neo. The biggest one, he hatched at 10 grams. Now he's like 13, 14 grams, and he's like feistier than ever compared to my other ones.
That's like a lot of mine. I think my biggest one out of the egg was like maybe 9 or 9.5 grams.
Yeah.
Everything else was on like.
So you had a small clutch too.
Yeah, my smallest one was one that didn't make it. That one was 4. That was the one that was really off for like 2 weeks. And then I have another one that's a 6 grammer that's still holding on. It hasn't shed yet, but seems to be doing fine. So. Yeah,
my smallest is a 7. Yeah. It is a 7, and he's still 7, and he actually prolapsed.
Oh man.
Recently.
Yeah.
So that was scary.
That's never fun. That
was a scary one.
I played that game at one point.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a scary one. So.
Did you just do
he's going through that.
The usual sugar trick?
No, actually, the sugar didn't do anything to him. I was like, what's going on? So I called Patrick, of course. I called Bill. I called Harlan. I talked to freaking everybody. I think even Matthew Morris was helping me with that. I hit up everybody. I was like, oh my God, I don't want it to die. You know what I mean? I think we ended up doing the preparation H with antibacterial ointment and pretty much shoving it in there with that. And apparently the preparation H like makes the tissue smaller so it could heal. And you take them off the perch. They're in a little deli cup for 3 weeks, and he still hasn't prolapsed. I just fed him. It's been 4 weeks, I think. He's been in the bin, and I just fed him the other day, and he pooped and no prolapse.
Oh, good.
So yeah, so now I'm giving him like an hour or two on a perch, and then taking him off because I don't want him to. Because when I talked to Harlan, he was saying how like when they prolapse, like the tissue like detaches from the muscle.
Right.
So like they need to heal. Like you don't really want them perching and stuff. So I'm just trying to get him reused to perching, but not too exhausted. It's a process. It's stressful.
Yeah, I had it happen with one of mine. Not one of my babies, but one that I got from somebody else, and it wasn't
is that
like
the one that passed?
No. This is the sibling to that one. The one that came in, and I was sure that thing was going to roll on me. I was like, there's no way this thing's going to survive, but that thing's actually rocking and rolling now. It's doing great.
That's amazing. Did you have to stitch or no?
Nope. I did the sugar thing, and I sat there with that thing, in my hand for probably an hour, and kind of very gently sort of massaged it and made sure that, that sugar water was getting in there good. And it eventually kind of went back in, and then I put him back in the box and left it be I didn't feed it for, it was at least 2 weeks. And I haven't had a single issue since. That thing's been doing great. Hasn't come back. None of that. So I don't know. Maybe I caught it early and got lucky, but it sucked because I came home from work and it was like, I don't know, maybe 9 or 10 o'clock. And I walk in and I'm like, what the hell is that? And I was like, oh shit, here we go.
Yeah.
And so then, of course, I look around the kitchen and we don't have any sugar. And so now, like, I live in a small town and everything closes at like 8 o'clock. And so I'm like trying to figure out where I go other than Walmart to get sugar. And there's luckily like a 24-hour gas station right up the street from my house that happened to have a box of Domino sugar. So I bought that for like $4 and ran home and whipped up a little concoction and made it happen.
Yeah. Luckily, my wife is home with the kids, so she saw the prolapse during the day. And she did the sugar water, but it like didn't do anything by the time I got home. Yeah. So when I got home, I just started calling everybody. I was like, "Oh no, sorry guys, I need help." So
I will say though that with chondros, like that's the one thing that I've kind of adjusted to is like expect a problem at some point, but don't be freaked out about it. Like be kind of excited to learn how to treat it and handle it, so that next time it happens. Yeah. You're ready and it's not a big deal. Like it's just, let's fix it and get it over with. Like, let's just push through it and move on. Yeah. So
I definitely think people underestimate how strong they are.
Definitely. Without a doubt.
Like, yeah. And like how delicate they are. Like I've never I know people have like some that you can't move when you feed them. Every single one of mine, grab the pinky and I could close it, walk away. I could be cleaning everybody else out. And they'll eat their pinkies with no problem. You know what I mean? And so I think we underestimate them.
Yeah, sure. With the 2 clutches that you've had, how have the babies been as far as getting them to eat?
Well, I only have one.
You have the one. Yeah, the one's cooking, right, but the one that the first batch, how was that?
So I tried the chick down thing. That really didn't seem to work. Now, Patrick told me to try gecko skin. Luckily, I have geckos. And literally, like, for some reason, he told me that. And that day, we went to my geckos, and one of them was shedding. So we took a little piece off. And you basically put it on the pinky head.
Right.
And they smell it, and they like it. I breed my own mice, so I had fresh pinky. So I did do live at first to see if that enticed them a little bit more. I had one really, really bad runner. but I was trying like all the videos you see, everybody's like, oh, you gotta beat these things and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Mine don't like that. Like you literally just put it in front of their face. Like you don't hit them, don't do anything. They're like, leave me alone. But they take them like that. The gecko skin worked. One of them I just left a live pinky on the bottom.
Yeah.
Next morning gone. So, but I did have a weakling that nobody thought was gonna make it, and it's one of my best now. Like he was limp. Like I sent Patrick a picture and he was like, that thing is dead. Why are you sending me a picture of a dead thing? I'm like, no, I swear it's not. But he was just limp. Like you would grab him and he wouldn't curl around you. Like literally he would just lay there. It was so creepy. Like, but you saw his little eye move and track you. Like we literally thought it was dead. No tongue flicks, no nothing. So we worked with him. We did water therapy. I know it's weird, but my first babies, I'm like, you need to work, you know what I mean?
Right.
So we did water therapy, and in the water, he would, his little body was working. And then we helped him perch, and we would leave him perch for a little while. And then you would see his coil start loosening because he was getting weaker. So we would take him off, put him back on the floor. And we pretty much did that for, I think, 2 weeks. And he had no tongue. That's another thing. Bill was like, what do you mean he has no tongue? He had no tongue. It was the weirdest thing. He would never flick his tongue, nothing. And then eventually we saw this little, like a clear thing pop out. And then eventually now he has a tongue. So it's almost like he was a preemie, but he was our first one to pip.
That's strange.
He was our first one to pip. We were like, how are you strong enough? Like he pipped and then he went back in and he stayed in for like 2 days, I think.
Yeah, that 6-gram one was the first one to pip for me.
Yeah, it's baffling.
The run of the litter is the one that's ready to go.
Yeah, he was. I mean, but then he was limp. Like it was very scary. But like I said, now he's a beast. You open his thing and he's ready. So yeah, I'm glad I didn't give up on him.
Yeah, these 10 that I have, getting them to eat has been a real pain.
Yeah.
The other night, after a little bit of tossing the idea around and talking to Harlan a little bit, I was like, man, like these things are going on a month of being out of the egg. Still haven't gotten them to take anything. So the other night I took all 10 of them and I put a pinky head in their mouth, and almost all of them, minus like I think maybe 2 or 3, as soon as it was in there and as soon as I put them back in the tub on their perch, they took it down like they had been eating since day one. I was like, what the hell? I had a few that they were trying to get rid of it, but then after a few minutes they figured it out and they were like, I have no choice, so they took it down. But it got to a point where I had to make that call where it was like, it's gonna 10 seconds of stress of me, pinching them and then putting that head in there is not gonna, like you said, it's not gonna kill them.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, we did a mouse tail because we were scared to do the pinky head thing. So we did a mouse tail and we assist fed, and 2 of them needed that, and after that, the next feeding they ate it all by themselves.
Yeah,
with no scent, no nothing.
Yeah, the head thing was easy. I realized kind of quick that you have to really put it more towards the back of the mouth. Like you can't just put it in sort of like the front half and expect them to take it down because they're just gonna somehow spit it out. And so I finally have it now to where I just, I put it in there and then I kind of give it a little bit of a push so it goes into the back, or they, they'll really bite down on it pretty hard. Their jaw strength at that size is actually pretty impressive. And then, like I'd let them dangle from my finger for a minute and kind of chill out. And then I'd gently put them back on the perch in their tub and, they'd swallow it down. It was nothing.
Yeah, that skewer stick thing that Harlan does. Yeah. We were doing tweezers for forever. Like for like the first 2 feedings, and then Harlan reposted his skewer stick, and I was like, let's try it. And I think my wife did it while I was at work, and she got all of them to eat off the skewer stick because you don't drop them, you don't hesitate. Like literally, they could take it right off. It was amazing. I was like, this is the best thing ever.
See, I tried it. I just couldn't keep the damn head on the stick. It kept falling off.
Oh, well, yeah, with the head is probably harder. I do it with the whole pinky.
Oh, did you just do it like through the back?
Yeah, through the back of the neck, yeah.
Okay. I might have to try that then.
Yeah, but it's so easy because, like I said, once they grab the head, they just pull it right off.
Right.
So there's no hesitation on your part or anything like that.
There's no like tension.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because the head thing is nifty, but I noticed when I thaw them out, and then because I tried the skewer thing, head kept falling off. I got irritated with it. I said, I stole some of Jake's tweezers.
Yeah.
But when you squeeze them, like all the juice and stuff comes out, and I feel like that's kind of the important stuff they're supposed to be having, and I'm giving them nothing but like skin and bone, literally. And but they had to get something in them. It was just at that point. And I weighed them all today. I weighed them all this morning, and they've actually been dropping weight, which was interesting because when I weighed them a week after they came out, they had all gained a considerably good amount of weight, which was not. Yeah, talking to David and talking to Harlan, and some other guys, we thought that was interesting because you would think they would have been losing weight once they came out of the egg.
Yeah.
But they actually gained weight, and then I think it's been 2 weeks since I had weighed them as of today. They all had started losing some. So tomorrow night I'm going to throw them all something again and see if I can get them to take on their own.
Do yours poop a lot?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God, my things. I swear, like every other day there's poop. It's like, where are you getting this from?
I'm cleaning mine twice a week. Water changes twice a week. New paper towel twice a week.
Yeah, they're all over the place. I'm like, this is crazy for chondros to be known to not poop, and then their babies poop so much. It's like, what?
Yeah, they're like colubrids.
Why don't the big ones poop so much?
Yep. It's everywhere. Do you keep your neonates pretty moist?
No. I was gonna keep a water ball on the bottom, and then Patrick told me that some people have had drowned neos.
Yeah.
So I don't have like the 3D purchase. I just did it out of hangers. So I cut a piece of PVC pipe that fit a little, let's say a gecko feeder cup kind of thing.
Right.
But a little bit bigger. And I put that up perch level, and I mist them once or twice a day, and that's really it.
Okay.
Perfect sheds, poops all over the place. So for the most part, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, because I was listening to Terry Phillips' episode of NPR from like 7 years ago, and he doesn't mist his like at all. Like, doesn't matter what size it is. He says, I don't mist them. He says, like, yeah, they're supposed to be, there's rain and stuff, but if you think about it, when it's actively raining, they're probably not out and about. They're probably trying to get away from that. So, I mean, I kind of overfill their water bowl, usually, like once a week to kind of raise humidity up a little bit, but I haven't been misting them. I've been keeping them kind of on the drier side, just out of curiosity, just to see what happens. And so far, I haven't been having any issues with them. Like I said, I've been doing frequent water changes. I do use like bigger sized water bowls.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, like that's been kind of the biggest headache is when I'm feeding. I have to move the water bowl to whatever end of the tub they're not at because I don't want them to strike it.
So they don't slam into it.
Yeah, drop into the water, and then I'm having to pick them up, and then they drop the mouse and don't want to eat.
Yeah.
So that's been kind of a headache, but having that bigger water bowl, like I put it dead center in the tub so that kind of no matter where they're at, as far as which end of the tub they are, they can reach it. And I don't know. No issues so far. So.
Yeah, and by mist, I don't like spray them a whole bunch. I literally give them one spray in the corner they're at, and that's it. Once in the morning, like when I go check them, and then at night, and that's it. And it's just in case they're too lazy to get to their water bowl, they have little water droplets in their corner. That's it. But I don't, like you said, I don't want to keep them too moist. So I just, like I said, just to get them to drink, I want these little things to hydrate themselves. But if they're urating, you obviously know they're getting it from somewhere.
Yeah, and that first week I did keep them pretty humid just so they could get that first shed out of the way. And all of them, I didn't have a single issue with any of them. I had one that had started, like it got the nose off, and then it was like it just decided to give up. And so it was like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
And so that one I did, like it got most of the, like everything from like the back of the head down was off, so I had to get that one, and I had to get some tweezers and peel the eye caps and all that crap off.
Oh man.
Yeah, but other than that, every single one of them shed one piece, no problem. And I still have, like I said, that runty one that hasn't shed yet, and I don't know when that'll happen. But
oh, mine took a month.
Oh, did they?
My little one, yeah, and it was almost like a double shed. It was weird. So one day we saw him shed, and we were like, oh yay, he finally shed.
Mm-hmm.
The next day he shed a full shed again. We were like, how?
Weird.
It was the weirdest thing. It was very interesting though, because it's like maybe he retained it for that long, and he literally shed 2 times, like full. It was so strange. We even guessed ourselves, but we had pictures of it because we take pictures of it, like to document it. So we took a picture, and then sure enough, the same exact head stamp the next day. So we were like, okay, we're not crazy.
And what was that first pairing that you did? What were those adults?
It's a Roo and a Bayak.
Oh, okay.
So the sister of the black one, but she has black, but she's very blue compared to black.
And what was the pairing of the clutch you have right now?
Manokwari with the black Bayak.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah. So hoping for some red little worms to come out.
That was one thing I was surprised with, is I was expecting to get a pretty decent mix of red to yellows in my clutch, and every single one of those babies, whether they were alive or dead, were red.
Yeah. That's
I
pretty good, though.
I was expecting some yellows, and I kept cutting eggs after they had pipped, and I was like, that one's red. That one's red. That one's red. And then there was like 2 or 3 on the very bottom, because I didn't separate the eggs, which I wish I had done. That's another thing I'll be doing next time. There were a couple on the bottom I couldn't get to,
Oh no!
I left them be because I was like, those were kept warmer, so those will probably happen on their own, and they did. And so of course those were reds too, and I was like, okay, well, I talked to Harlan. He said that's not that unusual. I thought it was, but I'm new.
Yeah, same. Same. Yeah, I'm hoping. I told maybe 1 or 2 yellows, because I would like to see the difference. Like out of this clutch, this is how the reds look, and this is how the yellows look. Like I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be mad if I had all reds.
It's pretty. I mean, after that first shed, where they look like velvet. It's so weird, like sitting on the perch, and they have so much white and red. It's just, they're so cryptic looking. It's so cool. Every time I open those tubs, every morning when I check on them, I'm like, man, these things are rad.
Yeah, that's so cool.
But aside from those breeders, what else do you have in your collection as far as chondros go?
I just picked up. They weren't a pair together, but I just picked up a high yellow girl. She was bought in Texas, somewhere in Texas. And we're trying to find more information about it, but the guy picked her up as a Bayak Cyclops. And the breeder was also selling the parents, and the guy was going to pick up buy the parents and everything, but then the guy ended up selling it to somebody else. So he knows it was a breeder somewhere in Texas, but we don't know who. So it's like, we're like, who produced this thing?
Yeah.
But apparently it's a Bayak Cyclops, and she's high yellow. She has her blue dorsals, but it's like a very faint blue. And then, so I bought her because she was a really good price. And then I think it was like maybe a day after I actually received her, Chad Gray posted a little, he calls it a Bayak, but it was produced by Peter Jolie.
Yeah, I saw that one.
A little male, but it has like Manokwari or like a sarong red dorsal. Like the dorsal is definitely not a Bayak. You know what I mean? So me and Patrick are trying to get in contact with Peter and see what the pairing was or whatever. But I picked him up just because he matched so well with her that I was like, oh, this is insane. So I picked him up too. So that's a future project once the girl's up to weight and everything. And they're both out of quarantine. I plan on pairing them, GTP wise. And that's my only female. I'm looking for another female because I just picked up. It was supposed to be a girl, but it ended up being a boy. But it has such a black dorsal that I ended up keeping him. But I want to put something with him. But, girls are hard to come by.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have Storm, who's that really sort of bizarre, with the really dark dorsal. And it's funny because I see that one, weird. And Bill Albright, who vends a lot of the Repticons and stuff here, he's actually semi-local to me. He's in Charleston, which is about an hour from me. The last few shows, he's had a Biak type that looks so similar to that. Not really? As dark, not as dark of a dorsal, but it has that strange sort of, I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like a quilted, like all the scales are outlined in black.
Yeah.
Like that really faint black outline on every scale. And I went to like a Charlotte show, a Columbia show, and I want to say like maybe a Charleston show. And that chondro was at all three of those. No one had bought it, and I was really tempted to pick it up.
Wow.
I don't know. I think it was a male. Yeah, and it was just so bizarre looking. I was like, man, I'll bet you that thing would throw some really cool stuff if you paired it with the right, right counterpart, or because I don't remember if it was a male or female. But
true to Biak nature, like I know some people are gonna be like, what do you mean? I think she was ugly before she turned her blues and her blacks. Like the guy that sold me her sent me pictures of her like when she was like right before she started getting crazy colors.
Right.
And she was just a little green and yellow Biak, like normal looking. It's like, what the hell? Where did this blue and all these other colors come from? And like you can't tell on her, but you can tell more on her sister. They have like a yellow dorsal, so they have like yellow triangles all throughout their back. Her, it's harder because she's so black, but you could see it like towards her tail because her tail is pretty much just blue. But it's so cool, like how many colors she has in her.
And how big was she when you got her?
Oh, she was big. She was pretty big. They were like $750.
Oh, okay.
They were pretty big. Yeah.
Well, I mean that sort of goes with the whole name behind Lottery Reptiles is, green trees. You never know what you're gonna
get. Yeah, definitely. That's one of the gambles I feel about green trees. Like you could pick up this out of two normal Biaks, you might get this black Biak because you never know. Like you just never know with these things. Because you don't know, especially with imports, you don't know what their grandparents look like. You don't know anything. Right. So you might end up with this crazy looking chondro out of two ordinary parents. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's the thing that I love about them the most, though, is like, ball pythons. Like anybody can put two of those together, and unless it's something that's never been bred before, they'll know what's going to come out of that. But like green trees, like even the best of the best couldn't tell you what you're going to get out of that. And to me, like that's what I love about them so much is like that playing field is completely leveled. You could pick up a $300 chondro at Repticon, and I mean there's a good chance it's probably not going to be anything spectacular. It's still going to be a pretty snake. It's still going to be a chondro.
Yeah.
But you could also, there is that slim chance of it being just something completely out of this world and completely coming out of left field.
Or producing something crazy.
That too, yeah.
That's like look at Quades that I think Ryan imported or whatever. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, that thing is nuts.
That thing is so cool. That is one of the coolest Biaks that I've ever seen. I'm like, holy moly, can I have you?
Yeah. Yeah, I was cleaning today actually this morning, and I have a subadult Biak that's starting to get some pretty decent black outlining around the triangles that I didn't notice until this morning. So I'm curious to see what happens with that. And then I have a little yellow juvie that's almost completely green now. So I'm hoping that'll be something cool too. But
yeah,
there's no such thing as an ugly one. That's the best thing about them too. Ugly chondros do not exist.
Yeah. Yeah, they're very different than any other thing, even than emerald. Emeralds are close cousins type thing, but they're just so different, like you said, with all the colors and the fact that you just never know. You know what I mean?
And how many emeralds do you have? You have some emeralds, right?
So I bought a basin. Bought a basin that was in pretty rough shape. But I finally got him up to par, and I was like, I need to find the female. So the same guy that was selling that I bought the high yellow off of female, he had a female high white emerald, and that's what I wanted for my basin. And I made a deal, and we got both of them. So now I have one northern high white and a basin that hopefully they make some weird stuff.
And what's
eventually.
your experience with those been compared to chondros? Because Marshall Mendez was on NPR the other night, and he was saying that he thinks emeralds are actually fairly easier to keep than chondros in terms of definitely getting neos established. He says they require almost no effort.
Yeah.
And he was saying just them being sort of a bigger, sort of bulkier snake, he hasn't had as many issues with those as he had with chondros. But I don't know what your experience has been. I'm always curious to talk to people who have had both, as to what they think about the two compared to each other.
Yeah, well, I had a rough start because, like I said, with the basin, it was a good price, but with anything that comes with a good price, it comes with the negatives, So I mean, this thing was bad, bad. Like I thought I was gonna lose him, and I was like, that's a lot of money that I just put into this project, and but he pulled through. I mean, he had mites. He had a severe RI, like severe RI. Like we did the regular medicine that didn't work, so I hit up Ed Marino and everybody, and I was like, obviously you have more experience with basins, like what do you find that helps? And he said only Baytro, and I was like, man, I don't want, and I think I hit you up about it. I was like, oh man, I don't want to do that to him. But I mean, I think the first shot his wheezing just stopped. Like I mean, you would walk into his room, like the quarantine room, and you would just hear him like a high-pitched whine, and that was just him breathing. It was insane. And the first shot, he came home, no more wheezing. I was like, this is insane. Whatever this stuff is crazy. But the Baytro got him back. Baytro tube feeding. So as far as taking care, I would say he was pretty rough in the beginning, but now he's fine. I mean, and I got lucky. He's amazing. And the northern I guess the guy handled her or something because she's amazing. Like, we'll put her head right in your hand, is so chill, hardly strikes at mice. Like, she'll literally just open her little mouth and grab the mouse. It's like, what are you doing? Be aggressive. So, I mean, I think they're beautiful as far as care. I would say they're very similar.
Yeah.
They're very similar, except people drop them a lot more than what you would think. Ed Marino posted something on like that group, and it's 86, 85 hotspot during the day, and then they drop them to 78.
Oh,
and
wow.
It's like, that's an extreme drop that if you do that's a chondro, you're gonna get an RI. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I've heard people talk about like Amazons are actually seem to do better at slightly cooler temperatures than you would think too. And I keep Amazons. I mean, they're pretty tough. But I've just recently heard that they seem to do better at cooler temperatures than they do hotter, which is kind of surprising because you would think South America for the most part is pretty warm compared to where chondros are coming from.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe, I guess Papua New Guinea seems to be a bit more stable, across the board as far as temperatures go compared to anywhere down south. So.
Agreed. I mean, I don't drop them because I run ambient in my room, so I don't drop them that much. And I don't think there's really a need because I kind of keep it like they have like heat panels, so they have their hotspot, and then at night the entire room is 80s. Low 80s, so I don't drop them that drastic, but apparently they can be.
And have you done, as far as when you've bred, what did you do? Did you do any cycling, or did you just kind of pair them up and wait for the magic to happen?
I did a slight cycle because, like I said, I run ambient, so I didn't really drop the girls that much. So I went from maybe 2 degrees, maybe 2 degrees to cycle them. And then I did Harlan's method of speeding up the food, of giving more food, smaller sizes, and that's what kicked them into gear. So that's really it. I didn't really like do the drastic drops or anything like that. Just the two working hand in hand slightly, and
right.
they both went for me for whatever reason. It was pretty. It seemed pretty easy, as much as I don't want to say it. But for some reason, it worked for me.
No, I mean, I think breeding them and getting eggs from them is probably one of the easiest parts about having them.
Oh, yeah.
I put my male in with my girl in June, and I'd separate him to feed him, but I'd pretty much just let him do his thing. When she was ready, he would know, and he'd go right over to her. And I saw plenty of locks, and I didn't get eggs until I saw an ovulation, I want to say late December. I got eggs in February. Yeah. So, but I saw a ton of locks between June and December. And I mean, my female's in a pretty big cage. She's in a 4-foot, like API or something.
Yeah.
So there was more than enough space for them to get away from each other if they wanted to. If it was a smaller, like a cube, I probably wouldn't have kept them together full time. But because they had, all that room to do whatever they wanted to do, they did fine.
Yeah, agreed. I kept mine in, and kind of like the boy kind of gave me the vibe. My boy went off feed, and like when I was handling him, he went straight to the girl that I was actually going to pair him with. He went straight to her cage, and we were like, And then we moved him away. We tried it again. He went straight to her cage, and we were like, maybe you're ready. Yep. And her sister was right underneath her. And he wasn't going to her. So I was like, maybe she's ready and he's ready. So, we tried it. And like you said, a couple minutes, he went straight to her. He was in. He was like, hey, what's up?
Well, that's what I was told, was basically pair them until you get eggs. And so I was like, okay, like I'm not going to, I didn't cycle them. I didn't do any of that. And it was pretty clear when she was on, he was right there on top of her with her. And then when she was off, they'd be at opposite ends of the setup. But then, a couple weeks would pass, and he'd be right back next to her. Or, like, a storm front would come in, and he's right there next to her. Like, it was really drastic, because you could tell when they didn't have any interest in each other. And then randomly, I wouldn't see action for a month, and then I'd come in one night from work, and they'd be locked up. And I'm like, well, okay. I mean, he's going to know better than anything, than I will. So
Agreed.
I trust their judgment.
Yeah, it was an interesting thing to watch too, because like they were like he was always courting her, you know what I mean? Even like if they weren't doing anything, he was on top of her. He was wrapped up with her.
Yeah, I felt bad for mine, man. He would not leave her alone. When I first put him in there, the first like 2 weeks, if she went to one end, he followed her. I was like, man, she is probably so done with this guy.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that I didn't get any slugs, because with my first pairing, we thought she ovulated when she was follicle developing. So, people say once they ovulate, they're done. And he wasn't. They were separate sides. And we were like, we swear she ovulated. Everybody's like, no, she's follicle development. We're like, no, she was huge. If you were there in person, you would see her. You know what I mean? So we were still in denial. So we took the boy out because, like you said, we were like, oh my God, he's squishing her. You know what I mean? So we took the boy out, and she ovulated like weeks after that. We were like, oh, this is ovulation.
Yeah, see, I thought mine was follicle development, and it was the ovulation.
Oh, really?
Because I sent pictures to Brian Fisher after doing the episode with him, at the beginning of starting doing this podcast, and because I was talking to him after we had finished recording, and I was like, yeah, man, he's like, I think mine's, I told him, I was like, I think mine's developing follicles. I haven't seen an ovulation yet or anything, and I took pictures, and I sent it to him. He's like, dude, that's totally an ovulation. But, I mean, for whatever reason, looking at it that day, I was like, she's not that big. Like, I'm used to seeing pictures of, like, the grossly, painfully looking, huge ovulations, and I was like, that ain't it. But then I look at the pictures now, and I'm like, that was totally an ovulation. Like, I don't know what I was thinking that day, but... So he's like, get ready for eggs, because that's an ovulation, dude. And I was like, okay, sure enough. Like clockwork.
Did you get any slugs?
I got one.
Oh.
I got one dud. It's in my freezer. I named it Dudley. I kept it for sentimental reasons. I don't know why. It's weird.
That's funny.
It's my first dud. It's in the freezer with some dead snakes and mice and all the other odd shit that's in there.
Hopefully you have a freezer for just that, and it's not with your meat.
Yeah, no, it's not in the house. It's in the other room. It's got some of my roommate's ice cream and stuff in it for some reason. He doesn't seem to care. But whatever.
Yeah.
So what do you, as far as feeding yours, what do you prefer to feed and how often?
So right now my girls are working on bulking up, so I do every 10 days with the girls because they lost 300 plus grams. So they look sickly, so I feel bad for them. But besides that, it's 10 to 14 days, but it's kind of scattered because I don't want to put them like on a schedule.
Yeah.
So sometimes we'll do it on a Friday, on a Monday, like it's all over the place.
Change it up a little bit.
Just so they don't know when it's food time. But I feed mice and ASFs. I breed ASFs. I can't, do the rat thing.
Yeah.
The big ones. So I do ASFs. That's their variety, mice and ASFs. What do you feed? Do you feed rats?
No, I mean I fed my girl before, like when I had the male in with her and I separated to feed her. I gave her like maybe 2 rats over the course of, because I feed my adults like once a month. I really didn't bulk my girl up too much. I did feed her slightly, like I'd feed her twice a month rather than just the once. And a couple of those times I did give her a rat. But I mean, I don't know. I like to keep mine, I guess, a little on the thinner side.
Yeah.
But I mean, she did fine. Like I was kind of worried. I was like, when I saw that she was going to be giving me eggs, I was like, oh man, I hope I fed her enough. I hope she has enough to get through it. And I mean, I had 0 issues. I didn't have any retained eggs or anything like that. She seemed to do fine. It's her first time breeding.
Yeah. Do you know what she weighed before?
No, I don't have I need to get a scale big enough to weigh the adults. What do you use?
I got one off of Amazon. What I checked, because I bought a small one and that was just horrible. Like it was not working no matter what bowl I put on top of it. So it's like a food grade one, but what I did was I checked the dimensions of the surface area. Like, can I fit, so mine I think is like 9 by 8 or something like that.
Okay.
So that way I could fit a big bowl on it, and what I just do is I put the perch on it, weigh them, and then I remove them from the perch. Like, they want to go back into their cage, so they usually leave the perch, and then I weigh the perch.
And then just subtract it. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I needed all I have, because I was breeding cresteds before I decided to go back to focus on snakes. And so I have, the small little scales that are meant to be able, they don't go over like 600 grams or something like that.
Yeah. Agreed.
But the girl that laid for me, she's a big biak. She is, I mean, that cage she's in is 4 feet, and she goes the length of that and then some. She's pretty big. So
yeah, my Aru is huge. My male Aru we weighed him today. He's 1,000 grams. We're like, whoa, buddy, whoa.
Good
yeah,
God.
He was big to begin with. Everybody was like, maybe he's a girl, because that's how big he was. And I was like, he's not a girl. He has spurs. I'm pretty sure he's not a girl. And the guy that sold him to me sexed him. But like I said, the one that was supposed to be a girl ended up being a boy. So, but obviously he produced. But yeah, he went off feed for forever, and then he finally went back at food, and we weighed him today, and he's huge. He is ginormous. We're like, okay,
big.
you're going on a diet.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a big boy though. Like, he's very long. Like, I would say 5-6 feet. You know what I mean? So he's a big boy.
Yeah.
And his girth. I mean, the girls are bigger than him girth wise. So he's just a big boy. But I'm definitely, after seeing the 1,000 gram mark, I'm like, okay, diet for you.
Yeah. My male, like, I've only recently gotten him eating frozen thawed. Before, I could only get him to eat live. He would not touch. He was much more interested in killing me when I opened the cage to feed him than any food I ever gave him. But if I threw a live mouse in there, he was on it. It was gone in like 5 minutes. Like, I'd leave the room, come back in, and it was gone. But as of recently, I've got him. He's eaten frozen thawed for me the last like 3 times I've fed him, which has seemed like nothing short of a miracle because for the first 2 years of having him, it was all live all the time, and it was so frustrating. I mean, I'm not that I'm worried that the mouse would like hurt him or anything like that, but having to go and buy live mice, and then if he just ends up striking it and not actually eating it, now I can't really feed it to anything else because I don't want to if he has anything, I don't want to pass it on to anything else, and it just then I have a live mouse I now have to do something with, and it's just it's so nice knowing that I don't have to deal with that anymore anytime soon, at least.
Yeah, we do pre-killed, but I mean, ours eats anything. You could stick anything in there, and they're eating. So even my sarong, he's tiny. He's my smallest. He's like what I would say like 200 grams, somewhere around there. He's like 200 grams. He's really tiny. Granted, I sold him, but right now he's still in my possession, so I'm calling him my sarong.
No.
But he's a beast. Like the sweetest little thing. Like if you're touching him and stuff, he'll come up to your hand and make sure you're not a mouse. But you put anything in there, and any time of day, anything, he's eating it. So he'll eat anything.
That's how anything. That's how my big female is. That's how my other 2 younger ones are. Like, doesn't matter what it is. If it's hot and it's moving, they're gonna go for it. And my female too, like especially, she's bounced back after laying really fast. Like she's pretty much back to where she was. I don't know if you notice this with yours, but she seems to have kind of an attitude shift after laying. Like she just seems a little more on edge than she usually is. Like she's usually pretty mellow, but now it's like if I go in there in the morning or in the afternoon, like she kind of wakes up and then she just sits there and sort of waits for me to open up. But I don't know. Maybe she's probably still hungry, but she bounced back quick.
It's interesting with my girls. Like, so one was always feisty. Like she was always really, really bad. And when she was mating and stuff, like when they were in together, she was so nice. Like you could go in, you could put the camera in front of her face, she would do nothing.
Right.
Now, if you're even by her glass, she's like, I'm going to eat you through the glass. And then her sister, the one that just recently laid, Storm, the black one, she is amazing. It's crazy. Like they're your sisters, and you guys are completely different. One wants to eat me, and the other one's like, "Hey, what's up?"
Yeah, the two that I have from Luke. One's like the one that's been just nothing but trouble. That one's kind of feisty. The other one that I got from him recently is kind of the opposite. It's much more shy. It's just kind of like if I touch it, it's like leave me alone. And it tucks its head down, just completely deactivates, and just doesn't want anything to do with me.
Oh.
But
yeah.
How do you keep yours? Do you keep yours in natural setups? You keep them pretty simple? What do you like to do?
I would say kind of a mix of both because I use natural sticks. They're in, pretty much it's an entertainment center converted. So it's basically a wood enclosure.
I've seen the pictures of that.
Yeah, so I converted those, and we put the little fake plants in, and they're on a pee pad with sticks from outside, like the crepe myrtles.
Yeah,
or whatever.
That's what I like to use the most. That wood is perfect. I use that for my Brettles. I actually have some that I had a buddy remove one of those from his yard, and so I told him, I was like, before you haul that off, like let me go and get some stuff off of it, because the wood from those things is so perfect for that stuff because it's so hard and it doesn't mold. But I have some sticks left from that I want to use. I don't know, like the ones I have aren't really long enough for the big female. so they're kind of an awkward size where they probably won't fit for anything I want to use them for, as far as the bigger stuff goes, and they're too big for smaller snakes.
Yeah.
But how do you mount yours? How are they mounted in the...
What are they called? I think they're like closet rod holders.
Oh, okay.
Like you get them, yeah, like one of them is open and one of them is closed, so they're easily removable, and I just drill them in to the sides, and all the sticks are on there.
Because what I did for I have like one of those branches is in one of my Brettles Python tubs, and I have it going like diagonally corner to corner. And I just took some like hook and eye screws, and I screwed the hook part into the branch. Yeah, and that worked out really well. So if I end up doing that with any of the chondros, it'll probably be something similar, because it's pretty easy to remove, and I don't have to worry about it falling off. But man, those natural perches just look so much better. If I could use those in all mine, I would.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I have a mix. Some of them have like the burnt PVC and stuff. And then they have the natural, because I think the natural is cool for them, because sometimes they have the bumps, they have like the weird texture, like I think it's
notches and knobs and stuff.
Yeah, and sometimes we switch up the perches, you know what I mean? Like we cut new ones, so then they'll you're changing their environment in a sense, you know what I mean? So it usually gets them going and being like, hey, what's this? And moving around, so.
Yeah, that's something my buddy Riley Jimison of Riley's Reptiles, he's big on, is like very, like nothing major, but he's big on like enrichment for snakes. And even if it's something as small as like, with my Baird's rats, I'll take a new like protein bar box from my roommate that's empty. I'll cut a hole in that and I'll hide a mouse in that and make them kind of, really hunt for it.
Oh, that's cool.
Small stuff, I'll take a box from the female, one of my, my biggest pair of Baird's rat snakes. I'll take a box from that's been in the female's cage for a month. I'll put it in the male's, vice versa. They're just like very small stuff that kind of just sort of makes them move a little more and kind of investigate and just kind of, stimulate them a little bit. And, everyone thinks that like stimulation or quote unquote enrichment has to be this big thing, where there's some sort of like drastic maze they have to go through or something. And it really doesn't have to be anything more than, adding a paper towel tube for a week and then removing it, and switching it out with something else. Small stuff like that does, I think, make a difference.
I agree. I mean, yeah, like you think about it, and these are, wild animals in a box. So like we take them out as soon as it gets nice out. We take them out and we put their perch on a chair, and they start going all over the place. My boy, my Manokwari, he smells the outside air and he's gone. He's like, I'm off this perch. Yeah, like I have no idea how people get pictures of their snakes. Like my boys are out as soon as they're outside. They're gone. Now the girls are more like, where am I? And they'll just kind of stay on their perch and sniff around and stuff. It'll take them a while to actually get off their perch and like go on the chair or something. But my boys are gone. Yeah.
Do you give yours like UV or anything like that? You have UV lights, or you just let them?
No, I have the little LED strips on the top of the things. But no, we take them out in the summer. That's really it for a little while, and then for a little bit of sun, because you want to keep them warm. You don't want them to go too low, and then we'll put them in the shade, and that's really it.
Yeah. I take my big male Brettles out every now and then. If it's nice outside, I'll take him outside and let him cruise. He's big and he's always cruising. He's always wanting to come out, so I'll indulge him most days because he's so mellow and he's chill. I don't have to worry about him spazzing out.
Yeah, we actually took our carpet outside the other day, and she went straight on top of, like, I have two kids, so they have a swing set. She went straight on top of the swing set, perched like a perch on a corner, and knocked out right on top of the swing set. It was the coolest thing. So we left her there for like an hour, and then we were like, okay, we're going inside. It's your time to go.
I know, like, the some people like to give Brettles in particular. They like to give them UV because they think it helps their colors a little more. But I don't know.
For Brettles?
Yeah, I don't use UV on any of my stuff, but I don't know. Like, I'm sure there's something. I don't
on the snakes. Yeah, I don't on the snakes because I feel like most snakes hide from the sun, don't they?
Right.
I mean, like I said, I have the LED lights, but it's literally for pictures because I have a window in the snake room, so we open up we open up the window, and then that's their daylight and nighttime.
Yeah. So what else are you have more than just chondros, obviously.
Oh yeah.
So what else are you working with?
I mean, as far as projects, I have the high yellows, the emerald, basin mix, and I want to do carpondros. I know a lot of people are against it, but I think they're so cool. I think the 75s are better looking than just the 50/50s. But obviously, you have to start somewhere. So I'm going to start with the 50/50s because I love carpets in general.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do 50/50s and then eventually, hopefully, do 75s. Because I think it's called Jonte Nation or something like that.
Yeah.
He has these freaking 75/25s, and I'm like,
those things are slick.
I have that?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So that's like a goal of mine. I want to try to recreate those.
Yeah. I'm not a massive hybrid guy, but my buddy Billy Hunt produced some Jag Pondros. And I'm not like against them or anything like that. It's just not something I have any desire to produce myself, but I definitely appreciate them for like what they are. Like they're cool.
Yeah.
And seeing those in person was pretty sweet. Like those things, they're so strange. It's almost like the Chihuahua Cresty hybrids.
Oh,
just
yeah,
very strange looking, yeah. Which to me, just those kind of make me giggle. Like those are a hybrid that I'm like, why? Like you're gonna take $1,000 gecko and pair it to a crested. It's like like why?
That's so true.
Like you're gonna buy a Ferrari and put a Prius engine in it? Like what's the point?
Yeah. They kind of look like gargoyles, I feel.
Yeah, they're kind of
they get like a weird,
like a gargoyle mixed with like a Saracenorum or something like that. Like they're really weird, but I don't know. I mean, if there's a hybrid that can be made, there's someone out there who's gonna take a crack at it.
Try it. Yeah, I've never seen the whole ball python, green tree python thing, but I think that one's weird. Because I feel like at least carpets are very close relatives.
Right. They're in the same group.
I don't see it with the ball python. And it's like, what's the goal in that one? To make a tiny green tree or something? Or a big green tree? Like
take the two laziest snakes in the freaking hobby and see if you can make one super snake that just literally doesn't move.
Right. Yeah, I wonder if carpondros and like those, like the mix of those makes like a more active green tree python kind of thing. Like I wonder what the effect is on that.
Yeah, Billy's were weird. He doesn't really give his a perch. They seem to just be like carpets and just, whatever you give them is what they're going to use. They don't really care. But I think his getting them to start eating was kind of a pain. Like it took them a while to kind of take off on their own. But they look really cool. He has some Jag Pondros and then he has some Carpondros from that same clutch. And they look pretty sweet. I got to see them in person when we went down to Carpet Fest back in February, and they were pretty neat. They're pretty cool looking.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, that's just a little side thing I want to do. I mean, it's not like something that I want to do forever. Yeah. It's just something that I want to experience, one clutch or whatever kind of thing. And that's really it. Besides green tree pythons, it's those little side projects that I just want to see what happens.
And are you breeding geckos too?
Yeah, but it's more of like my wife's little hobby thing.
Oh, okay.
She likes geckos. Yeah, I like the mossies, so I just got into mossies myself. But it's more of a hobby thing. I have Sycorays.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, Chihuahuas
I don't know if I'm saying it right.
Yeah, Chihuahuas and Europlatus are like two geckos that I'd go back into lizards for.
Yeah,
like I'd get back into.
Are so cool.
I'd get back into four-legged things for that.
Yeah, we have Pictus geckos too, but like I said, that's literally just a hobby thing. That it's like if we have babies, we're probably gonna keep them, or if we end up male heavy, hey, do you want one? It's not something that, at least right now, is not taking off. We're more focused on the green trees and working on that. I mean, once you have babies, your hands are pretty much full with them.
I enjoyed my time with geckos. I bred cresteds for a few years, and then I've always been a snake guy. Like, I've never been big on lizards, and then I got into cresteds. I was like, man, these things are awesome, and they're so easy, and like they're super easy to breed. And I was like, I'm just gonna, keep them and try it out, and ended up with countless amounts of them by the time I got out of them. But I don't know. I enjoyed keeping them, but man, I got so many hours of my week back when I got out of those things. Like snakes.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It takes so much more time than, oh, you pooped today? Okay, let me get you. No, the other ones are like, you need to be fed, you need to be watered every day.
PNG is expensive.
Couple times a day.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, they're definitely, that's why I said it's literally just a hobby. We have, I think, two males and 3 females. And that's it. So we're just doing it as our little pets and seeing what comes out of them.
No, I mean, they were great for sort of getting the business off the ground and, kind of getting my name out there and building up decent reviews and stuff on the page and sort of learning the ins and outs of selling and shipping and all that stuff. But snakes just make you lazy.
Yeah, they so do.
I can get, my entire collection of snakes cleaned in like half the time that it took me to clean 40 plus geckos on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Like I used to literally, like Sundays were cleaning days for geckos, and I would literally start at like 9 or 10 in the morning, and I wouldn't be done until like 3 o'clock.
Holy moly. Yeah, that's why I'm glad our collection is small. I can't imagine that.
I don't know how the guys do it. Like the dudes at like Tiki's Geckos and Pangea, and I mean, obviously Pangea is staffed, so they have the manpower to do that, but like the people that have big collections and it's just them, it's like, man, I do not miss that one bit.
Yeah, and Tiki's do chameleons too, and chameleons are so high maintenance too. Yeah, that's something. I mean, I have a Chinese water dragon, and he's pretty high maintenance, but that's one. So, I don't know if I would be able to do it with so many.
Yeah, the only thing with legs I keep now are dart frogs, and those are crazy easy. Those are no more work than the snakes are, really. So.
Yeah, I want a monitor.
I would love to get into monitors. I just don't have the space, the time, or much of the desire to deal with it. I just don't have that much time to really socialize with it and get it to a decent level of calm.
Yeah, because you definitely have to take your time with them. But yeah, that's my future pet, hopefully.
Which species do you want?
I like croc monitors. I like them a lot. I think that's like the topping of the cake for them. Yeah. But I also like the green tree monitors. Green tree monitors and the blue tree monitors. Those are insane looking.
Yeah, if I were going to do monitors, it would be the trees or like one of the smaller species like rock monitors or Ackies or something. I don't have any interest in like the water monitors or anything that gets huge. Yeah,
definitely. Like you said, the croc monitors and the tree monitors are like, the tree monitors are just freaking gorgeous. And croc monitors are just beasts.
They're dinosaurs. So cool. Yeah, they're like 4-legged raptors.
Yep. Yeah, they're so cool. So that's definitely something that maybe in 5-6 years I'll have some. Who knows? You never know.
Yeah, they're neat. Like I said, I don't have the space for them, and that's a lot of work. They're kind of like parrots, they need a lot of attention.
Yeah.
You can't just keep it in the corner and expect it to be friendly and manageable. And parrots, I'd love to have a parrot, but same thing. I don't know that I have the time to really give it that it needs. So.
Oh yeah, I agree. Parrots are cool, but like you said, there's so much maintenance. It's like having a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
So
you can't just cover it with a sheet and expect it to not lose its mind.
Yep. Oh yeah.
What's the plan for chondros in the coming year or two? What do you got in line?
I would say the high yellows. I don't know if I'm gonna breed the girls again, this upcoming season, or if it's gonna be like, a 2-year wait or whatever. You kind of got to go on what they look like, if you feel like they're good enough next time. Because if not, like I said, I only have 3 girls, so if they're not up to par, then it's just gonna be my high yellows, and that's it. Hopefully, I could pick up a blue girl. I want a blue girl, so I could put her with my black Bayak, the one that I just got, because I think blue and black is like my thing.
That would be pretty sweet to see what that happen. What comes of that.
Yeah, blues and blacks are my favorite, and then the high yellows with the blue dorsals. That's another, like those high, I guess they're called high yellow sarongs. Those high yellow sarong, the glaciers.
Yeah.
They're so dope. So that's like my little project with the yellows, to see if I could create something like that.
And going back to neonates, what do you just with that first clutch you had, did you hold on to all of them for a while, or did you kind of sell them as soon as they were ready? Like, what do you, as far as holdbacks go?
I still have them. I still have them. I'm planning on keeping them for a while. I mean, if I have all 15 of the next ones, I definitely want to keep them. So I think I'm gonna be holding on to them well until their color change. Like, to me, it's about seeing what comes out of these weird projects.
Right.
So right now, everything is a holdback.
Yeah, that's kind of the silver lining to me losing. The handful that I lost is, like, before I was like, man, if all of these hatched, this is before they pipped, and I realized that a handful were gone before they even came out. But it's like, if all 17 of these hatched, like, I'll keep half and I'll sell half. But now that now that I have 10, it's so much more like I can just totally kick back and just sit on them for as long as I want.
Yeah,
there's so much less pressure. Yeah.
But now, once I have, let's say, all 15 hatch, it's a miracle, all 15 hatch.
Right.
So I'll have 20 neos, and then if, the yellows take off and the emeralds take off, obviously then I'm just going to be overwhelmed with babies, so I'll probably start getting rid of some then. But I think I'm probably going to get rid of more, like the emerald basin mixes.
Yeah.
I'll probably hold like 1 or 2 back, depending on their pattern, because with those it's easier. You could see their pattern. You could see what they're going to come out like. You know what I mean?
Right. There's just more of a color shift rather than right.
Correct. Yeah. So with them is, I'll choose the ones that I think I like the whites more, and the rest are going to be up for sale, as opposed to the green trees. I don't know what you're going to come out like. You know what I mean? You have Bayak in you.
Yep.
That's enough said.
That's the secret ingredient with a lot of that designer stuff is either Wamina or Biak. And
oh yeah, and that's like my future. Like, it's going to be hard to find, but I want a Wamina and an Arfak in my collection eventually. But those are like my dream animals, because like you said, they throw weird stuff. They do weird things.
And when are you thinking of pairing up the emeralds?
The girl is kind of small, on the smaller side. I believe she's like 700, 800 grams. So being that she's going to be pregnant for a long time, I want her to be, like 1,000 grams. So it'll probably be 6 months to a year on her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's not too bad, though. That time goes by quick.
I'm not in a rush. You want to make sure that your females are okay first, because they're of age, but the guy wasn't going to breed them, so it's not like he was like, okay, I need to get these.
Right,
to wait,
he wasn't pumping them to get them there.
Yeah, but to me, for an emerald to hold babies and everything, like, I'm not gonna put a 800-gram female through that. So.
I want to get into them eventually. I'd really, I think emeralds are kind of almost they go hand in hand with the green tree guys. I think there's, at some point, green tree guys own an emerald, or even a few, whether they keep them or don't. They dive into that pool a little bit.
Oh yeah, I agree. Like I said, they're not what you expect. At least if you find them from the right people, you would think this big head, those big teeth, but if you find one that's handleable and not gonna eat you, you're fine. You're not gonna be scared. Like I thought I would be scared of the female because the female is big, you know what I mean? I was like, oh my God, this mouth is gonna come at me and try to eat me. And nope, she's better than my Bayak, you know what I mean?
I've heard that the difference in attitude between the Basins and the Northerns is pretty night and day. Like Basins are pretty mellow for the most part, and Emeralds are always kind of known to be high strung. But then again, Emeralds are, almost all of them are wild caught. So
yeah,
what do you expect?
I mean, I would definitely say like my Basin, like I could go in there and rub him and he won't move out of his little ball. Now my Emerald, as soon as you open her glass or her tub or anything, she'll look at you, but she'll never strike or anything like that. So she is a lot more like, hey, who's that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, much more alert.
As opposed to the Basin, it's like, whatever's happening is happening.
Yeah, I'm asleep. If you're gonna kill me, kill me. Like,
yeah, pretty much.
Do whatever you're gonna do.
What kind of defense is that?
That's how I noticed these baby chondros are. Like I was taking them all out to weigh them this morning, and it was like I'd be tapping them for like 10 seconds before they woke up. And I'm like,
really?
I could totally be I could totally be a bird trying to eat you right now, and you'd be such an easy meal.
Yeah,
they just
mine
sit
are
there.
Not like that. Mine will eat me. But they don't do that to my wife. My wife is like, what do you mean they bite you? I'm like, yeah, they bite me. And I can't go in there without them being like, hey, who are you? Let me taste you. And she's like, they've never bit me. And I'm like, thanks. Thanks.
I mean, I will say all these babies, like I could handle them without getting bit. Like it takes a good bit of provoking to get them to even strike at food. So I mean, I guess for Biak, at least at this size, they haven't gone into the food crazy, youngster stage like my other younger ones have.
Yeah, like I said, mine, you rub them with the pinky, they go up, they smell it, and it's eaten. So I guess that's probably why while I'm in there, they're like, what are you? Oh, you look like a pinky, but you're not. Let me taste it.
Well, hopefully tomorrow night I get some success with that. I don't have to keep feeding them for them. And
have you tried the soft approach, or are you doing still like the flicking of the head and all that?
I was being pretty aggressive with it.
Yeah, I would say try the other way, because you also said you have a runner, right?
There's one or two, but they run after a few seconds of me messing with them. Okay. Like they'll take off, like they'll strike and then they'll run, but they're not like instant, like, oh, something touched me, I'm gone.
Yeah, but it's like once they notice like you're bothering them to eat, they're gone. I had one that was like that, and then the soft approach is like what he wanted, and that's what made me actually start being soft with everybody, because once I noticed that, all right, this little guy is like, okay, it's feeding time, and then he got kind of scared. I was like, all right, we got to try something else. And the little, rub a couple times, like, not that, he would just took it, but, like I tapped his little tail, I tapped the side of his neck, but like softly, opposed to really trying to get his attention, and he just ate it. Another thing I noticed, sometimes they really like them hot.
Yeah, I try to keep them pretty warm, but when I warm them up in water, they cool off pretty quick, and so after, a minute of tease feeding, they're back to being like room temperature.
Yeah, so what I do is I have a room heater, because I run ambient.
Yep.
So what I do is I'll turn on the heater, and I'll hold the pinky up right up into the thing, so their heads get real hot. And then I offer it, and real quick they'll take it.
Yeah, when I was dealing with small children's pythons, usually that was the only way I could get them to take. Like the pinky would have to be piping hot for them to have any interest in it. Otherwise, they wanted nothing to do with it. So
yeah, some are just picky like that.
Yeah, but we'll see. Come tomorrow, hopefully I have some luck. I don't know. I think the runty one I'll probably have to keep assisting myself, just because it's too small to be able to get, even a really small day-old down, I think. I mean, like Ryan Dumas posted a picture of one of his anthill pythons that he hatched out recently, and that thing weighed 6 grams. So, I mean, we're dealing with a snake that's probably not far off in size from that. So,
yeah, and that's one thing that's cool about the fact that I do it, like I breed mice myself, because I've noticed that the frozen thawed pinkies kind of blow up like they're so much bigger than when I first put them in when I first freeze them.
Right. I'm sure it's because of all that water expanding in the cells and stuff. It causes them to bloat a little bit or something. Yeah.
So when I go live like that, like I could literally choose like the tiniest ones. Because, sometimes, some pinkies get more milk than the others.
Yeah.
So they'll be like runts of the litter. And with my smallest one, I choose literally like the tiniest pinky I could find.
Well, fortunately, I get my mice from my dad, who breeds his own for all his king snakes and stuff.
Oh, really?
So I have pretty much unlimited access to that stuff if I need it. So
yeah,
that works out. But
yeah, that's cool.
We're coming up on an hour and a half. We're at 1:25.
Look at that.
So,
I didn't think we would make it this long.
Yeah. It can be a struggle sometimes. It's definitely harder without Jake being here with me.
Yeah.
But it's getting easier. But,
I mean, this is a pretty cool podcast.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I put a lot of effort into both of them. And
yeah.
I was worried that the schedule wouldn't really work out for being able to do two of them, but I've kind of like reserved this one to kind of just doing it when I feel like it, instead of trying to be like, I got to find someone this week, I got to find someone for next week. Now it's just kind of like, I haven't done an episode in a week or two. I probably need to get around to looking for someone to do it. So it's kind of nice just sort of playing it by ear. But where can people find you?
Lottery Reptiles on Facebook and on Instagram.
Alrighty. Cool. Well, I appreciate you coming on.
All right. Sounds good. Have a great night.
Take it easy.
All right. Take it easy.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. That is episode 10, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. This was a good episode. I enjoyed talking to Sabrina. Please follow her at Lottery Reptiles. Follow me at Palmetto Coast Exotics. Follow the podcast at the ChondroCast, Facebook, Instagram. Quick shout out to my sort of unofficial sponsor, good friend of mine, David Brahms, who's been on the show. Please, if you have anything arboreal, semi-arboreal, check out his products, Specialty Enclosure Designs. He makes some really great stuff. I'm sure you've seen it. If you're in any of these arboreal groups, you've seen his products being used. I have people, Jake uses them for his carpets. I use them for Amazons. I use them for the chondros. I even use them in some of his purchases for the Brettles. Doesn't have to just be chondros, but please, Specialty Enclosure Designs, check it out. Follow him on Facebook. Follow him on Instagram. Check out his website. He's got the perches. He's got the perch holders. He's got tub conversion kits. He's got all kinds of cool stuff. So, David, I've sort of assigned you as my unofficial sponsor because you've been such a great guy. Your products are so awesome, and I love them. So I will shout it from the rooftops. Let everybody know. Check them out. ChondroCast, subscribe. Not Facebook. Facebook, Instagram, obviously, like I just said. Subscribe, SoundCloud, Google Play, iTunes, Spotify. I believe it's on Podbean. I don't know. I have to check into that. But anyways, have a good night. Thank you again, Sabrina Vega, Lottery Reptiles. See y'all later.